Hello, I'm Victor and this is the Junkyard. You know, I've been doing too many negative reviews lately, and that's not what the Junkyard is supposed to be about. The Junkyard at its core is supposed to be dumpster diving for the soul. It's looking for something forgotten or just ignored, brushing it off and taking a new look at it. Most of the time it's just going to be a valve lifter, glued stiff by grime. But sometimes it's a shiny hubcap, which you can wear as a jaunty cap. Well, I think we should take a break from looking at valve lifters long enough to look at one of my surprising favorites, Blacula.
Now I have to admit, I have limited experience with blaxploitation films. Perhaps the only other one I've seen was Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, also known as Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, which I was not impressed with despite it being one of the genre's progenitors.
But when I heard about this film, I had to see it. Blacula?
Hell yes, Blacula. Released in 1972 and directed by William Craig, this film took all the typical and often criticized blaxploitation concepts, themes, and set pieces and put them together to form a coherent and engaging story. It also stands as probably my favorite vampire movie to date, though I'll admit I've never found the competition very compelling.
In any case, before we go on, I should point out that I'm going to be spoiling big parts of the movie from here on in, so be warned.
Anyway, the story starts off in Transylvania, where African Prince Mamuwalde and his wife Nuva are having dinner with an influential European count. They're trying to get him to use some of his influence to help them end the slave trade in Europe. They soon find that he had no intention of helping them, he just wanted them for dinner. Well, at least they get some grub out of the— oh, I see. Count Dracula. Drac attacks, the prince fights back, so Dracula gets pissed and locks Mamuwalde in a stone casket in a tomb, dick move. Curses him with the eternal hunger of the vampire, super dick move. Renames him Blacula, super mega dick move, and locks his wife in the tomb to die of starvation as she is forced to contemplate just what her noble husband has become. Epic dick move. Before we move on with the rest of the plot, a couple of thoughts. First, I think we can infer from the time frame presented that this part of the film is something of a prequel to the events of the Dracula novel. I find the idea that there was another powerful vampire waiting in a tomb under Dracula's castle, even as the Nosferatu himself was having his fateful confrontation with Van Helsing and Harker, to be so compelling that I'm declaring it canonical. The second thought is that Dracula, through his curse, has essentially enslaved Mamuwalde. While this idea could have been forced down our throats, it was actually presented very subtly. We'll revisit this later, but in the meantime, I'm going to continue to call the title character Mamuwalde, as Blacula is pretty obviously his slave name. Meanwhile, the film jumps ahead a couple centuries to a homosexual couple of antiques dealers in the castle, where they decide to bring Mamuwalde's tomb home. Bad move, it turns out. Overcome with unholy hunger, Mamuwalde kills and feeds on them both. Now, even though these two were shameless and over-the-top stereotypes, it should be noted that they both put up a fight. One of them even breaking a 2x4 over the vampire's back, which is more than most horror movie victims will even try. Anyway, we're soon introduced to the other primary characters as they go to pay their respects to their mostly dead friend. They include Dr. Gordon Thomas, police scientist and protagonist, who will have to fight, along with the undead, bureaucratic incompetence and police apathy before he can save the day, his girlfriend Michelle, and their friend Tina. Mamuwalde, observing from the shadows, sees that Tina is a dead ringer for his dead wife, and tries to confront her, coming on strong. She gets freaked out and runs off, but he later catches her at a club, where he is able to apologize, and they talk about the— okay, it's not that bad, but you have to admit some things just don't age well. Now these guys are forever. Anyway, the story follows three characters from here on in. We follow Gordon as he figures out the recent rash of murders are the work of the supernatural, learns the identity of the vampire, and works to put an end to said vampire. As a hero, Gordon is no-nonsense, practical, and hands-on. Identify problem, learn possible solutions, apply them. He also manages to be masculine without being macho. Strangely rare and refreshing in a horror movie, but fairly common themes in blaxploitation. We also follow Mamuwalde, who over the course of the film stalks and drains pretty much everybody who gets in his way or learns too much. The curse has taken most of his humanity, but the actor playing the vampire manages to convey the idea that Mamuwalde isn't so much evil as detached. He has no regard for humans besides his prey or obstacles. And lastly, we follow Tina, who begins to remember her previous life as Nuva, and is now conflicted, loving Mamuwalde deeply, but hating what he's done. Well, by the end, Gordon has destroyed the mindless vampires Mamuwalde created during his spree and sets a trap for the undead prince. He and some other cops follow Tina as she goes to meet with Mamuwalde, and soon they're chasing him and Tina through his labyrinthian hideout. Unfortunately, soon a white cop, trying to hit Mamuwalde, shoots Tina in the back.
Sure, man, they all look the same, right?
Well, after bashing Lieutenant Trigger Happy's insides into pudding, Mamuwalde is forced to do something he was hesitant to do up until this point and bites Tina, turning her into a vampire. Now angered, Mamuwalde starts picking off cops left and right. After a while of this, he retreats back into the shadows, and Gordon figures they need to track him back to his casket. They find the casket, stakes at the ready, and open it, smashing the stake down into the heart of Tina. The prince had hidden her away before the scuffle, assumably to keep her safe. Now Mamuwalde approaches the cops and sees what had become of Tina. Gordon prepares to fight and most likely die, but to everyone's surprise, after lamenting the loss of his only reason for continuing to exist, he walks up the stairs of his underground refuge and into the burning light of the sun. There, as Gordon watches on, Mamuwalde dies. Wow. First thing to note is that this is probably the earliest instance I'm aware of a vampire choosing to kill itself in a movie. Second, going back to the idea of enslavement, we see Mamuwalde breaking free of Dracula's curse, choosing to end his own life, denying his eternal hunger. Another way of looking at it is that it was not the vampire's curse that bound him to continue his predatory existence at all, but his love for Nuva/Tina, meaning he was a slave only to his own heart.
So that's Blacula. Not a masterpiece by any standard, but still a fun, exciting, and occasionally thought-provoking film. And speaking as a straight man, I'd be Clive Owens forever if he asked me, but that's anyone with a pulse. I would say that Prince Mamuwalde has done more for the sexiness of vampires than Anne Rice, Joss Whedon, and Stephanie Meyer combined. Well, this has been Victor with the Junkyard. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.